Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is Debbie Walsh. This is the self-help healing channel I created, Choose Peace, Love, and Happiness. And I created this to help other people learn how to heal themselves and the tips and tools, self-help healing tips and tools to help heal yourself. And I'm just creating these videos to share information and hoping it helps someone out there on their journey. We're kind of all led to what we need to see and hear and experience on our journey when we're ready for these things. Okay, so now I've been reviewing Dr. Wayne Dyer's 10 Secrets to Inner Peace and Happiness. So success and happiness. So we're on the 6th secret and in this video, and the 6th secret is you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. So that's the 6th secret, and then each individual card has more information, but that is very powerful. That is so powerful, and I spoke to it in the last video regarding these secrets, is that our mind and what we think and our beliefs is so powerful. It really is. It's mind-boggling. And once you have awareness of your thoughts and then awareness of how it creates your own feelings and then in essence your own experiences, your whole life will change. It'll change. So when he says here you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it, if you have a certain mindset and certain beliefs, you're going to create experiences based upon what your mindset is, right? And what your beliefs are. The challenge for most people is they're not even aware that they have beliefs and what those beliefs are. They have no awareness. That's why the foundation of all of it is awareness. That's the base, and everything builds from there. So it's really important to know what your beliefs are and what your thoughts are. What thoughts go through your mind, right? That's why journaling is really good, because then you can become aware of your patterns and your thoughts so that you can start examining them and you know, basically deconstructing what you believe and seeing if it's true and if it serves you, right? So if you have a problem in life, you created it. That's what the foundation of all this type of work is, which is complex. But anyway, in this series now, he's saying, move to the level of mystical consciousness. The level of consciousness is distinguished by a feeling of connectedness rather than separateness. You feel aligned with every individual, every creature, the entire planet, and God. 1,000%. 1,000. As a result of the healing journey and my healing journey, that's why I know I keep saying mine, but I'm sharing what I experienced, because the goal is to share it so that you can, it'll touch you in some way, so then you can examine your own experience, right? And then take steps to heal, right? But this totally happened for me, because once I got through all basically it was like my mind and my thoughts and my beliefs had a lot of garbage in there, basically. It was a lot of garbage. And when I had a lot of things happen that were very, very painful, and they hit me like to my core, that basically I was, you know, I had so much grief, and I just purged a whole bunch of crap, basically, if you will. A whole bunch of crap I purged. And then I was led by the divine, which he leads, you know, the God, universe, angels, whatever you believe, bigger than yourself, leads us and is there for us and guides us and guards us and protects us and shares with us what we need to know when we need to know it, right? And if we're not ready yet, we're not going to have the information. That's part of the bigger plan, and that requires a level of faith, right? To believe in that. But then also, once you start going through this process, you start to see things differently. When you change your beliefs, like how you look through life at your lens with all your stuff, you know, where you grew up, who you grew up, your parents, your siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, or lack thereof, any of those things, and anything that's happened to you, you look at life through that lens. So we need to take the lens and start tweaking the lens, basically, so that we see things potentially in a different way than we were conditioned to see them, right? And when we do, and we see things differently, we start looking at things for their beauty, their presence, right? Like for all the things that are wonderful that we didn't see before because of all the junk that was in our lens, right? So that is just wonderful, because we will see, consciousness. There is a universal consciousness, which is divine, God, universe, angels, or just the intelligence of the universe, the consciousness of the universe, how we're guided. It's a bigger, broader concept that's wonderful, and it's amazing, fascinating. I'm sorry, I'm babbling on because I love all this information. It's spot on. It's 1000% spot on. Okay, the next one. Tame your ego. When you move beyond ego and make your higher self the dominant force in your life, you'll begin to feel that contentment and inner glow of peace and success that encourages you to feel good about yourself. The ego's tough. And most people live in their ego. They define their whole self as their ego. And they'll do it for many years potentially and have no real issues with it. The challenge becomes when you get knocked down and bulldozed over and a whole bunch of other things that life, things happen in life, obviously. When you're in your ego and stuff like that happens, it's a whole, like the person loses their whole identity, right? They lose their whole identity because their identity was built on their ego, right? So this requires a level of reorganization, if you will, and shifting to say, I'm not my ego. I'm divine. I'm a spirit. I'm loved, right? I'm many things. I'm not all one thing I'm many things, and I'm part of a bigger, greater universe and a bigger, greater plan. And my path will meet others on their path and vice versa. And it kind of just ripples out into the universe. So we can't make ourselves overly important in the bigger scheme, right? We do have to have some level of egolessness to shed hurts and pains. That's a fact. That's a total fact. Okay, so here's the next one. Make a new agreement with reality. In your new agreement with reality, you can blend your physical self and your personality with your spiritual God. With your spiritual God connected self. God, why am I doing this? For some reason, I'm having trouble reading this one. It's so late. God connected self in order to begin radiating a higher energy of love and light. Yeah, there it is. That's what ends up happening when you go through this whole process. And this is fascinating. And, I'm going to explore it further, but I've experienced it myself, because we think that when things happen to us or happen in our experience and we personalize it, and it can just destroy you. Truthfully, it can destroy people, unfortunately. But a better way, or what I've learned along the way, and he's speaking to it now even, which is more confirmation about it, is when we have hurts and hardships and difficult things, it's not to punish us or make us bad or have us believe less of ourselves, or where we beat ourselves up and whatever. What ends up happening in the process, if we really dig deep and we do the inner work, you will find that the worst thing that you thought that happened to you ends up being a huge blessing. And I know it's a stretch. It's a stretch. And it depends on where you're at on the journey. Because if you would have told me in the beginning of my journey that this is a blessing, I probably would have, I would have totally shut down and not been open to any of it, because it was so hurtful. It was very, very devastating and very hurtful. And I did make it mean something about me and my life. And, I did all these things, right, that I'm referencing even. I did it. That's why I'm speaking about it, because you can come out the other side and look at things that you thought were a negative, and they end up being a positive. Is it immediate? No. Is it right away? No. If you keep going and you keep putting one foot in front of the other and doing your best and working on yourself and working on your mindset and working on, taking care of yourself and blocking things that aren't yours, you'll get there. Because that's the point of all of it. That's the point of all of it. I believe that 1000%. And I hope this totally hits somebody and resonates with somebody, that you're okay. You're being looked after. You're being guided. And things happen for a reason. And if you just keep believing and keep moving forward and have faith and work on yourself, you'll look back and see that what you thought was the worst thing ever ends up being a blessing. So, okay, let's get to the next one. I'm really rambling. Change your mind. Change your attitude towards yourself and believe in your connectedness to the higher energy of God. Even in the direst of circumstances. Turn anything that seems problematic over to your higher self, trusting the problem is not what it seems to be. See, it's all this stuff is connected. It's all connected. Yeah. Change your attitude towards yourself. Because we are connected and we are being looked after. And as another thing too, you'll find as you go on, and like I said, you'll look at what happened differently, but you'll also feel differently about what happened, and you'll also see your own connectedness to the bigger picture, and it'll be revealed to you when you need to see it. But like I said, a lot of this is dependent upon where you're at on your journey, because it doesn't happen right away. So, all right, and here's the last one. Refuse to believe in problems. In the world of spirit or God, problems don't exist and aren't real. Jesus. When your spiritual connection is weak, you move away from the world of spirit, and problems seem to come from your belief in that separation. That's true. And what's really true about that is that we are connected to the divine, and we as human think things are a problem, but in the divine, it's not really a problem. And when we connect to the divine, we can ascertain or discertain the difference between the two, right? Because problems are just issues that come up that have to be addressed, right? Whatever it is. But we're defining it as a problem, right? We define something as happening that this is a problem. And we need to change our mindset to say, this is an occurrence, right? This is happening. I'm going to have faith and pray and connect with the divine. And you can ask to be guided and to be led. We are guided and we are led, but we can actually ask specifically for it, and we will get answers too. When you develop this connection as a result of basically your heart gets opened up when we're hurt. It's like the heart just, and there it is. It's because we're so hurt, and that whatever it is that's hurt or harmed us, and we crack wide open. And then there we are, right? And all the junk comes out, all the junk that was in there, over, a course of our lifetime from other people and situations and circumstances. We get a lot of crap in our system. We crack wide open and we purge it all. And then we have to put ourselves basically, and the God, universe, divine, he does this, helps us put ourselves back together in a more divine, perfect union with spirit and God. And then we move on our journey where we're we're connected. And then our circumstances and our situations flow. Not that they didn't flow before, but we kind of got in the way, right? But when we go through this process, then we flow with life, and we're God, and things don't come up so harshly or so, you know, abrasively, but stuff still comes up, right? That's part of life. But how we respond to it is going to be totally different going through this process. So and I know that from personal experience. That's a fact. So, all right. I hope this helps someone. Wishing you peace, love, and happiness on your healing journey. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. I'm looking to hear from anybody that any of this resonates with. And of course, you don't have to. There's no obligation. And if you need help, you know, I do coaching as well. I have a master's in counseling. And I do coaching. So if you need help, and you feel like you need to be coached, you know, get my information in the description box below. Okay, so that's it for this video. See you on the next one. Namaste. Bye.